Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ambitious Broker. Today, I've got a really energetic woman that I think you're going to find very interesting. Her name is Paige Schulte. She's out of Washington. And in only 8 years in business, she's already exceeding 100 transactions a year. She's winning all kinds of awards for her innovation and commitment to the community and various things like that. There's no question that she's got something to offer you. I think that you'll enjoy the time I spent with her and the things that she has to offer. But there's no doubt Paige Schulte is an ambitious broker and someone that you need to hear from. So I hope you'll enjoy the next episode here, and we'll see you soon. Welcome, everybody. I want to introduce you to Paige Schulte. And Paige is a real estate broker up in Washington, state of Washington. And by the way, Paige, just in honor of you, and since you're from Washington, I went out this morning. I got me a Starbucks.
Oh, perfect.
Because, you're from Starbucks area.
That's right.
You started. And I thought I would, and then I wanted some coffee on top of it.
Fair. So did I. And I don't know. I don't have mine. So you're so lucky. I'm about to DoorDash it.
But for those that are joining us here in our podcast, Paige is a particularly interesting person, I think, to me. One is she's won a bunch of awards: Inman Innovator, Finest Realtor in Gig Harbor, and Gig Harbor is the area that you're primarily doing business in, right?
Yeah, that's our zone of happiness.
Zone of happiness, I love it, and a bunch of awards. She's done over 100 transactions in a year. And what's really interesting about it is how you've approached it. One is you've only been in the business for 8 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty remarkable. Two, you're kind of new to Washington also, right?
Yep.
Also,
I'm a California transplant.
right.
You have a safe place, Californians. If you need to come up here, call me.
Okay. I like that idea. So tell me, let's start off here. I got to find out what makes you tick. That's what I'm really interested in. And
Mm-hmm.
I have found out in trying to help people through our podcast is the way people think is much more important than what they say. And so I like to find out the things that motivate people and some of the trials and tribulations. So let's start. In San Diego, you were not in the real estate business.
No.
Okay.
I grew up in San Diego, went to UC Davis, graduated from college. I started my first company right out of college, got married, bought a car, bought a house, started a business, all at, 22, 23. So
Checklist.
Started early. Huh?
You went through the checklist, did all the stuff you're supposed to.
Yep. Did all the things just very early. So we were babies when we started our first company. We were in the education space. And we did that for 10 years. Very successful franchise that we had down there. Had 3 kids. And then on a whim, decided that we would move to Washington. And Gig Harbor. Gig Harbor is a tiny town. It's a maritime city. Looks like a postcard every day. And it's just about an hour from Seattle. So close enough to be able to pop over there by ferry, by car. It's just dreamy. It feels a little suburban. So when I came here, I was like, I can't be a Lululemon mom. I just can't do it. Like I was going to go on sabbatical and run the PTA, and it didn't work out that way. And so somebody told me I was doing some marketing for a real estate team, community-based marketing. And they were like, you should get licensed. And I was like, I'd rather die to be a real estate agent and just be like everything to everyone. I just couldn't be that vanilla. I was lucky enough to be able to follow a couple real estate agents that were doing it very differently, that spoke their mind. They had opinions. They weren't so salesy. They were doing it differently.
That's what you meant by vanilla, just real estate
mm-hmm.
people in general.
People just trying to serve everyone and not have an opinion and not ruffle any feathers. That's not, I came from California. We're really loud and mouthy. Especially for up here. It's very passive, very kind. So he convinced me to get my license, and I did. And as an entrepreneur, I was like, okay, let's find the seams. You could open where is the path of least resistance. And I just kind of followed now I understand that I'm following my intuition after 8 years of trusting that I know something will work. It's just constantly foreshadowing, but that comes from being an entrepreneur.
How long did you work with marketing with the real estate before you got licensed?
3 months.
Oh, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you just got a taste of it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then how'd you start to learn the business? I mean, you just joined a company up there?
Yeah. My mentor was amazing. He didn't make his money just in retail sales. He was a developer, and he was building out a neighborhood, the one that I live in. And it was a 2-year run when that last development was going to be done. And he was like, we need to get our resale business back up and running. So I had created the vision for re-engaging our sphere and like the zone of happiness that we wanted to dominate. And unfortunately I got licensed shortly thereafter. He was like, you should just get licensed. And then I did meet with everybody. I met with every office. I was a cross country runner, and I do things solo usually. And so a team was a little overwhelming for me to have the idea of having to get a lot of opinions from a team. But I feel like I kind of took the safe route, stuck with him. He's an amazing mentor. He got diagnosed with ALS shortly after. Very sad. Passed away 3 years later. I had exited way before then. I went off on my own. Without him being able to be the visionary for that team, the rest of the team didn't understand what him and I were trying to do. Right. And so it was better off financially for them to let me run my own race. And I was completely fine doing it. And so it outwardly appeared that I was kind of leaving them during a time that was difficult, but it was actually, you don't know what you don't know in terms of, I knew that it was financially the best decision for them. I could run my own race very easily. I understand building a business and building a small business and building a brand. And I was like, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. I'm still best friends with his wife.
There's so many options in starting in real estate. And did you rely on any coaching that was going on in the industry at the time, or you just sort of like you said, you sort of went internally with your own instincts and said,
yeah. So the coaching that I really leaned into was anything that was not real estate. I didn't go to, I went to copywriting. I went to, building an online presence. So really focused on how to build if it's great to have a lot of reviews on Google, it's great to have a lot of reviews on Zillow, and then you turn around and you don't have anywhere for them to go. Nobody has a website, So before I got licensed, before I even told the world that I was an agent, I made sure that my website was up and running. So that as soon as they wanted to look into me and say, okay, who's this new girl? They had a place to go. Because you could have a beautiful Google business presence and spend a shit ton of money to go feed ads to it. And then they go where?
Right.
Nowhere, like to a landing page.
By the way,
like every other broker.
Yeah, that's a very good website you've got. I did have a chance to take and look at that. I think it's called askpaigeschulte.com, right?
Yeah.
And people should go look at people that are watching our little show here.
Yeah. That's probably our most recent iteration as we move more into a team narrative. That's the new version that's coming out right now, but it's been through 5 renditions. And that's what I focused on in the beginning was podcasts on building an online presence, on copywriting, on email, how to treat Instagram as a space to build trust, whatever social platforms you want to use, how to scale with video, and then how to understand that that's not where my business lives. I don't want Zuckerberg to control my business. But I'm going to go scale and build trust there through video, which is what I did. I was lucky enough to be getting into the business when Instagram stories was just launching. And I didn't care. I didn't know anybody. I had no fear in terms of people thinking that I looked like an idiot on camera. I was also, at the highest amount, I was 65 pounds heavier and never quit video. You could go to my most recent YouTube videos in 2022 when I realized that I was not a supermodel anymore. Fat Paige is still there. But it was only recently, this past year that I lost that weight from like COVID and stress. And, this business is pretty hard on people. So I'm still reintroducing myself now. People that don't see me very much, they're like, oh, do you know Paige? I'm like, still her. Yep. But none of that slowed me down. You just stay present and keep delivering incredible value. But the question is, what is the value? What is incredible value to your people?
Right.
And you have to know who they are. So the front loading work that I did when we started was, who's my ideal client? Who do I want to serve? And all of my business on my website is to talk to that one person, my ideal avatar, so that all of my marketing is very intentional.
So you're not trying to be all things to all people.
No, I'm the opposite. I'm like, if you're a single dude that wants a condo, like, I'm not your girl. I drove a minivan until it made sense for me to, get into like, I don't know, a small little sporty Lexus. Like, right. I'm a mom with 3 kids. This is just how I'm going to roll.
Right. So, okay. So you finally got your license, you got in the business, you made a decision about, I like that. It was a plan. You had a plan.
Yeah.
I find that most people don't have a plan.
Well, I think most people don't recognize that if they want to make $1 million listing money, like you see on Selling Sunset or the shows, you have to build a business and think like an entrepreneur, which is a skill set that most people don't think they need when they go into real estate. So I could do that business building part, but how do you not screw up the transaction? And so I was in my manager's office at the desk every day to make sure that I didn't screw up and get sued for understanding the contractual stuff. Right? Like,
we were talking about how you said you had to separate the transaction from a business. In other words, I know how to put the business together, I know how to build a plan, I know how to think like a business person, but then now I have this transactional side of it where I've got to deliver my
yeah, how do I not fuck it up, right? Yeah. Like, I don't want to go to real estate jail. Right. And so this business is about getting clients, and I was able to do that quickly. And I did it without being scared to spend money. I spent more money than most new agents would spend to build their business and their brand and get leads. Right. And then I sat every day in my manager's office and made them write contracts with me because I was selling. I probably did 15 transactions in my first year on my own, and I was selling houses. So I needed to make sure I was an entrepreneur. I was good at what I did prior to this, and I was starting from scratch and didn't want to not be able to live up to fake it till you make it, Paige, right?
How did you get the guts? How did you get the guts to invest heavily what you do? Mm-hmm. One of the things I found out with I call it cancer. The cancer of real estate salespeople is insecurity, and
yes,
point in time to where if they can do something repetitively that starts to bring results, then suddenly they realize they push the button. They're in charge. They're in control. Mm-hmm. And that's the moment where the insecurity kind of goes away, and they see it as a legitimate business, and they move.
Yeah.
But it's hard, right?
And
when you first started.
It is really hard. I think in 2020, when there was so much uncertainty, we were the first market to get shut down. We were the first market to have COVID in the United States. And I was I was poised to peak and tip. Like my business at that point was about 3 years old and I was cooking with gas. And 2020 hit and I had to I was doing marketing for other agents. I was helping people with this community-based marketing. And I was telling them, remember, we did not build a house of cards. And that was like I needed to remind myself of that because I'd go to bed at night being like, what if nobody calls me? But we've built, if you have to trust that you built something that is sustainable. And then you have to put the processes in place to keep doing 80% every year of what I know works. I repeat. The last 10% is to keep me interested in this business. I'm an entrepreneur and I can't get bored. And so where can I find the fun in the other 80% of the 20%, right? So,
yep.
I can try new things. I can take 20% of my budget and I can say, let's do something new. But if you are looking at yourself as an entrepreneur and a business owner in the real estate world and not just 6 transactions a year type of average agent, then I knew I had 2 years to make money. I had 2 years before I made money. That's how I would look at it.
Okay.
Like any other small business. It's going to take 2 years to survive. Maybe I do it, maybe I don't, but this is the chance I'm taking on myself. And you can use credit cards, you can figure it out. If you can't, if you have the vision, I always call it doctor money, to make doctor money, and you're not willing to invest years of schooling or whatever you need to do to build your business online, which is pretty much what we need to do now, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve the guarantee. So as an entrepreneur, I said, okay, it's 2 years for a small business to make money. We're lucky enough in real estate that we sell the most expensive product that everybody needs. And so you can get in the black very fast. You just have to be disciplined enough to reinvest it. When I started my business, I was out selling $250,000 homes in Bremerton. And I took every single dollar and every single ounce of my time and put it back into Gig Harbor intentionally. Gig Harbor was a harder market to break into. It's luxury. It's the most expensive area of Pierce County. Average price points just under 900,000. And so to get in here, small town, build trust, it took more time.
It was established.
So 2 years.
Kind of an established area that you neided to.
And Bremerton was baby houses, and I was just, learning the game, and I was building trust with people that were first time home buyers, so I didn't feel as fish out of water. Being newer, they would trust me because I was a confident person. But then I would go get help where I needed it because the transaction stuff was still different and new. But if I was a brand new person going in with a $1.5 million client that's bought and sold 12 houses before, I look too new. I'm a baby. Yeah. So this gave me that first year of transactions. And then I said, really, Gig Harbor,
how were you getting most of those? Were you traditionally
Zillow?
Cold calling,
So
open
I did
houses?
Nope. I did Zillow.
You were buying leads.
My first year. Okay. In Bremerton. And I said, I'm buying one zip code because if I could buy one zip code and know every single house that's on the market, that I'm golden. Every time they call me, I can convert. I can say, yes, I've been in that house. Yes, this is so you could convert it and then say, do not call anybody else. Don't get, Zillow happy on there. Don't call another agent. I'm your girl. I know everything there is to know about 98312. Yeah. Right? It was as far as I wanted to go away from my kids and my family.
That was part of the trust thing. You said that trust word about 10 times already.
Yeah.
Part of that trust thing is that when someone calls you, your ability to appear like you know what you're talking about and get there fast is a part of the way to build trust fast.
Yeah. Yes. So then as I didn't circle prospect, I sold a home there and I left. I was like, bye, got to go back to Gig Harbor. But I knew that Gig Harbor was a 5-year play. In 5 years, I wanted to be the number one agent in Gig Harbor. That was going to be a long play. I need to build trust. My own neighborhood, people thought I sold houses in there. And I had never sold a house for 2 years.
Really?
just took, there was the queen of Canterwood. She was so established, 12, 15 years in the business. You had just really established veteran agents. And I had about 5 years before they were going to start changing their season of life. And I could be up and coming, but I had to be present and consistent. And so I took my Bremerton money, put it into Gig Harbor. And then every year I said, okay, I'm just going to do the same amount of business at a higher price point because I'm making enough money. And then didn't end up that way. I ended up doing double every year. It doubled, until 2022, really. I would say 2021 and 2022, we did not double. We did more business. But I changed the way I do business. I was a solo agent essentially, and I did 98 transactions on my own, and it was too hard.
You also got away from buying leads, didn't you?
Yeah, I stopped doing leads. I stopped doing leads. So I also I had talked about kind of finding your people and finding the entrepreneurs, the ideal clients that you can connect with and I can be most authentic with. And I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody. And the real estate agents weren't going to collect me. Right. And I had a business partner. I had a business partner with my first company. And so I missed the collaboration. But I also knew as I was running up the ranks pretty quickly that people in the business in real estate weren't going to be my friend. And, that was hard. So what I went to is saying, who speaks my language, and can help me stay, Washington can be wet. It can be gray. And I needed more people in my life. I'm an extrovert. And so I started making connections. I said, how can I serve my community? How can I get well known? How can I connect with connectors? And while I'm doing my Zillow leads and selling houses, I started, I said, I'm going to write a coffee table book about Gig Harbor. So, Sarah, can you grab me one? Yeah. So I printed my first version as this new girl from California. And I actually charged them to be in it, which was really hard because I had to sell the advertising spots. Right. But it was so successful the first year I did it that I've never charged them since. So it's beautiful. It's really well done. And it's everywhere and it's free to the community. I give it away for free. But inside it is the story of the businesses in our community. So we sent a professional photographer out. We captured what their unique value wedge is to the harbor, where they're located, what their story is, how they got started, who is the person behind each business in this small, sweet town. Right. And what do they do to give back? And that was a tremendous effort. Like I said, we just finished our third volume. So that's being printed now and published. But it's been so memorable and so impactful to these entrepreneurs that I have resold every business that's left. I'm their agent that they call. Some of them don't use me as an agent in their regular life, but I'm the agent they refer. So I found people that speak my language as an entrepreneur that I can hang out with authentically. And then I also did work to shine the light on them. The project total probably costs me every year. The book gets bigger and costs me more money and probably running around $65,000. But it's so worth it. And then you have blog posts that come out of it. You have Instagram. Yeah, you have Instagram content.
And when you say that, you're talking about part of your interview process with these business owners?
Yeah. So the interview so now I have digital versions. I've got beautiful photographs. They get all of it. And then we spread the love across Gig Harbor through social media, Google Business Profile, YouTube, our blog. And so when people come to our website, they're like, this girl knows Gig Harbor. She knows literally everybody. You need a table. There's probably only one restaurant that's hard to get a table at sometimes. Drop my name, you'll get in. But my kids also know not to fuck it up. I'm like small town. I'm like, you can get a job anywhere, but don't screw this up.
Right. That's brilliant, I think, and it's gutsy. I really firmly believe that it's a market, a world now that you really need to get hyper local and get in there.
And I think there's like some
the community. Let them know that you're there for more than just. And
I think what I've looked at in terms of spending a lot of money on things, it is the ones that make you kind of want to barf a little to take the leap. But it'll pay off. It's really about consistency. I do a couple other examples. We do have our nonprofit that I was very, very involved in PTA. My previous business was in schools. We owned a private company that served after school programs in 170 schools. And so I knew the ins and outs of the public school world. And so when I moved here, our PTA here was different, is a different passion for them of what they were into. And I came in as a business owner and had different ideas. And so I was like, before I was in real estate, I started a nonprofit so that I could create my own sandbox for my own ideas and fund them myself, because I didn't want to have to go through sometimes what could be mom wars, of like some kind of weird PTA power. I was like, that's fine. I'll make my own sandbox. So the nonprofit existed before I was in real estate. And it was to fund hands-on programming for kids. That has been incredible. We are now bringing after school theater programming to almost every school in the Peninsula School District, and bringing opportunities for kids to get on stage that are not sports. They're not in sports, but this is their way to build a community, and remind schools that the arts are important. And we do a lot of assemblies that we donate, anything that can involve all the kids at the entire school and do something that's, doesn't involve a screen. But all of those different ways to give back are the other part of serving your community. Every school knows that they can call me. Every organization could call me. I get the first call for anybody that needs money. Therefore, I get the first call for any sponsorship as well. So my name ends up everywhere.
Right. That's a really, really bright idea. I tell people,
and the consistency is important. Don't do it one time. Do it over and over, and let them know that you're not a flash in the pan and that you're not doing this for your own brand.
Right.
Nobody knew for 5 years that I was doing any of it. It's under a different name. I didn't want the real estate stigma to be plastered on the work that I was doing,
right,
because I like to give back.
It would taint the work of the
and eventually people would put it together. Yeah. That's what you had to trust, is that if you are going to do good things out in the community in your business, eventually they'll put it together that this like donor that keeps giving money, the Chelsea Paige Foundation, is also Paige Schulte.
Right.
But you have to trust that you're going to be in business in 10 years,
Yes.
So I have 2 years left and then I can quit. Just kidding. Just kidding.
That's funny. But this idea, I always say to people that, in my mind, I sum real estate up with this. Your job is to sell credibility. People have to trust you, believe in you, and then you have to manage information. Basically.
Yeah.
That's your two jobs. I got into computers back in the 80s. I wrote the first CRM system and in real estate and so forth. And it was because of realizing that it's the volume of people, the more people who know you and trust you. It's important. That trust is important. The more money you're going to make. Almost that simple. And I suspect you haven't learned all of the great closing lines that Mike Ferry or Tom Ferry or Buffini teaches, or any of those great coaches out there. You've not learned that. You've learned how to build trust.
Yeah.
No traditional door knocking, no traditional farming to speak of.
I do. So let's see. I do send postcards out. I have is it 7 or 8? 7 postcards once a week, every year for 7 weeks.
Okay.
To specific areas. In 2018, I was watching the inventory numbers.
Rotate, you mean? You rotate?
Yeah, rotate. Yeah, I rotate around. It's only Gig Harbor, because all of my marketing is here. But, so it's consistent. Like if they see me in their mailbox, they're also seeing me in person somewhere. They're also hopefully on my email list. Everything for me in building was building my email list. If I didn't have an email list, I had no business. So everything was about the emails. I don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit about Instagram, Facebook, any of that. I want them to go to Instagram, learn about who I am, and then opt into my email. If you go to my website, there's no Instagram there. You don't get to go down the rabbit hole, back into the abyss until you give me your email address. Right. The other thing that you won't see on my website, and this is just an aside,
so you're basically saying you use some words that I've used often. One is when you got the leads, you talked about convert. Mm-hmm. Someone comes, when you touch someone, you've got to be able to convert them. And your mind, converting them was fundamentally a way to communicate again.
Yeah. Yes. Converting. Yeah. If you look at the funnel, you're building trust. Yeah. You get them onto your email list. You build that email offline, but you're still online, but ideally we get them in person, right. And you get them into the super sphere category of a top 50 list where, now you're meeting with them on a regular basis. And those are your referral sources. They don't have to be clients of yours. They're super fans.
Right.
And those are the people that are going to give you the warmest, most beautiful leads rather than having to start from scratch with Zillow or on a platform that you don't control. Zillow's going to do whatever makes them money. They can change however they want. That's the same with Facebook and Instagram and change the algorithm and do all that stuff. You control your email list. Google still has a little bit of back-end control, but for the most part, people don't change their emails very often and we can stay in touch with them. And that communication is gold. If you can keep a warm list, you might have an exit strategy to sell it.
Right. What's your ideas about the content of these emails that you send out? How do you? Because you're really saying, I'm going to throw something in your face, and I want that to say, trust me.
Yeah. So my emails are very
trust me. They won't.
They're very engaging. But like you said, I'm having lunch with another agent on this, this podcast or vlog. Mm-hmm. I'm going to lunch or having a glass of wine or having coffee through an email with my clients. It is not a formal shell of a newsletter. It doesn't have a lot of images. If it does, it's probably an image of me or a video of me giving a market update. And they're super conversational. It's HTML. It's nothing. It's like, don't overcomplicate the email. Yeah. I've written and I sat down with my team and I said, everybody, your power hour is sending out an email twice a month. Don't do it every week. It's too much. Nobody wants to hear from you that much. Unless the content is amazing and you have something really good to say, but don't screw it up, for checking a box. Some of my emails, I was like, 3 things you need to know. The first one is this, and the third one you might not want to read. That was the subject line, something like that. The third one was about, there's a lot of dog lovers and people love people who have dogs. I have 3 kids. Not everybody relates to that. People love dogs. I was trying to express my dog's anal glands myself. So gross, right? But I was like, if Olivia Pope were a real estate agent and she was going to get shit done, and so I had tied it into that, but it was like the most memorable email that a number of replies that I got back from that, like, you are my favorite person. Thank you so much. I'll never use anybody but you. It's just so real, so authentic. Not Chat GPT. And then I think
when I was first starting, I was a big farmer. I would door to door. I did a promotion once a year at Thanksgiving where we gave out pumpkins. Everybody got a pumpkin in the neighborhood. And I remember I remember receiving a letter. I still have that letter today. It was probably written in 1975, right? Or 76. That's how long I've been doing this. And the letter said something to the effect of, Roger came home today and I saw this pumpkin on my doorstep and I just can't tell you how good it made me feel. And so thank you very much. However, we are newcomers to the area. We've only been here for 6 months. And so we expect to be here for a long time. But if the day ever comes where I want to sell my house, I would call you. And I thought all the work I do to be smart, all the transactional knowledge I try to do, and a pumpkin won them over. It's like, that's all that mattered. I sent that pumpkin. And ironically, the guy that owned the house got a job transfer about 9 months later, and I actually did get the listing from it. So
I did. I did in 2020, whatever, some version of COVID was happening. And when I had a huge business, a pile of cash I was sitting on, and I was like, I want to do something for the 4th of July. Events had pretty much gone away. This was outside. And I said, I'm not just going to send an invitation. I'm going to make the 4th of July. It's a non-denominational holiday that we can just all get excited about. Right. So I sent these boxes. Our neighborhood is 780 homes. It's very big. For Gig Harbor. I sent these boxes, they're party boxes, and inside it had streamers to decorate their bikes or their golf carts or their dogs themselves, whatever. And then it had a cup in there. It was, we had a joke when I was, I don't know. Anyway, it was Red Cup Friday. I used to drink out of a solo cup when I was raising my kids and go to the park and meet all the moms. And so Red Cup Friday was our thing. And nobody knows, but it says that on the cups that went to everybody. And an invitation to walk from the country club to the park. That's all it is. Super chill. We'd have music and mimosas and, an ice cream truck for the kids. That's all it was. The investment in those boxes was $50,000.
Wow.
Landed. I am still doing it today, and they call me because of it. It took years, but now the house is, this house is $2 million. We put it on the market, from listing to market, we were like, 15 days. And she said yesterday, we were at her new house inspection, and she was like, I really like that you're women owned. I think your marketing is beautiful. And I really like that you give me a present. And I was like, can you please tell my husband, because he hates the party boxes. They're so expensive, but they're so memorable. When you talk about something that's so memorable, if you want to be huge, you've got to do things that are crazy.
You gotta be huge.
And it's hard to, now that's 3 or 4 years that we've been doing it, and it's expensive, but worth it. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. Every single person counts on it. And every single person thinks I throw every party in the neighborhood, even when it's a different agent.
Right. Well, something about what you did is that you were giving out things that they would play with, but more likely they would see other people playing with the same thing. And that in itself was kind of a unique bonding experience that reminded them of you. Right. I mean, it's like,
everybody knows around 4th of July, the boxes drop. Yeah. The boxes drop. Their grandkids love it. The whole experience is just, can't say no to 4th of July. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And
now they'd be mad at you if you don't do it.
I know. It's a real problem because shit doesn't get cheaper.
Yes, exactly.
Oh gosh. But yeah, it's been good.
You're gonna put less in the box, and then you're gonna get criticized for having fewer chips in the bag, kind of thing.
I had somebody ask me one year. He was like, "I use that cup every day," and he's like, "Do you have any extra?" And I was like, and it was right around when the time when it was coming out again, and I was like, "Oh, I was gonna change the cups and do something different," and I was like,
"So
Hanson needs a new cup, so let's just keep the same cups."
Yeah, on one level. You work your specific neighborhood that you live in, 780 homes, I think you said.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there you spend money. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
And then, but the greater Gig Harbor area, which is what you're known for. In fact, I love your logo brand, and your brand actually says neighborhood specialist.
Neighborhood experts.
Neighborhood experts.
Yeah.
I remember when I was farming, I said neighborhood specialist. I knocked on a door one day, and the lady says, "Oh, Roger, how are you? Nice to see you." And she goes, "I'm so excited. We just bought a new house. We just bought our first rental." And I go, "Really?" And she said, and I said to her, "And you didn't call me? Why wouldn't you call me?" No, I asked her where it was. She goes, "Overground is the city next to ours, right?
Yeah.
Adjacent." And so it surprised me. "Why didn't you call me?" She said, "Oh." She says, do you do business over there? I thought you only did business in this neighborhood."
Yeah.
And I said that.
Which is that, every now and then that happens.
Does it?
Yeah. But we are pretty intentional about saying we know all the best agents.
Yeah.
So because I tell people all the time, I'm like, you should be hiring somebody local, somebody who can find you a house off market, somebody who can make sure that you're not overpaying, somebody who can make sure you're not leaving money on the table, somebody who knows the buyers that are popping around. There's not that many houses at the end of the day. We know who they are. And if you control the market and have a lot of listings, you know the buyers that are good and the buyers that are bad and the agents and how all those relationships that matter. You should have a local agent who can give you that knowledge, because that knowledge is power for you as a buyer or as a seller. But if you are shopping in Federal Way, I'm not your girl. I am smart, but I don't know Federal Way. I don't follow the market because I'm over here doing my best work in Gig Harbor. Right. But I know all the best agents. I know every single one, and I can get you to the best agent in any market in any city. I will find the Paige Schulte of the Federal Way area, and you'll be well taken care of. And that's my passive income because I want the referral. So
I just talked to an agent yesterday
that keeps me in my lane and my focus, and then also builds some passive opportunities and serves your client in the absolute best way.
Yeah, I was starting to say, I met with a client yesterday. It's actually a friend agent yesterday who is also a client in a way too. And he was telling me that he's been marketing that he sells real estate anywhere in the United States. So I said, "Well, but you're only licensed in California." He goes, "I just refer the business. I just tell them I'm going to do the research for them. I'm going to, if you want to leave the state or you want to go someplace else," he says, "I'm going to call that area. I'm going to find out who the best people are. I'm going to interview for you. And then I'm going to hand you off to someone." And he says he's now had 6 transactions this year already just by saying kind of what you just said, really. So I know those people. I'll find the great people for you.
Yeah, I know all the best agents. Yeah.
Count on me to help you one way or the other,
Yeah, I know all the best agents. I know all the best contractors. I know. Yeah, everything there is to know.
How do you use video?
Instagram stories.
Right.
And I don't pay extra for reels. Some people do really curated stuff for reels. I call it like a cocaine or heroin hit. Like it's just too short in the world of like getting a quick hit of, likes and views. It's not evergreen content. So I won't spend my money there. Where I will spend my money for professional videos, is YouTube. That is good content and it is searchable and it is evergreen, and I make money 5 years from now, I'll still make money on the original videos I've done. I had clients that were popping around to open houses and they're like, "I know you." Right. And I was like, "Have you watched any videos on YouTube on Gig Harbor?" And they're like, "Yes, that's us. Kids Guide to Gig Harbor, Dog's Guide to Gig Harbor. You're just a tour of Gig Harbor, 7 neighborhoods you should know in Gig Harbor. Those are all us." And we batch that content. We'll do $30,000 worth over a month period when our videographer just cranks them out for us and, go and do it. And
you're like the table of contents for Gig Harbor.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah.
It's like, come to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so 2018, if you look at kind of the trajectory of where we're going, and this is where I think we're foreshadowing. And I was lucky. I had a setback with my family. My daughter got diagnosed with arthritis. And she was 9 and we didn't know what was wrong with her. She was 9 years old. She was losing weight. She was like visibly sick. And we couldn't figure it out. And my husband traveled for the first 15 years and not, 15 years of our marriage. We've been married 20 years this year. And, he was still traveling at that time. And so I had, building my business. And at the time, I was only in the business a year and a half or so. And so I was still working with a lot of buyers. And at the time I had 4 listings. And I was like, if I didn't have those listings, I'd be out of business because I had to take her to so many doctor appointments and figure out what was wrong with her. And I knew I wanted the money to be able to pay. I was paying out of pocket for everything, every test I could ever pay for. I was just paying out of pocket. And I said, so every single week I run the numbers of what's going on in Gig Harbor. And I was watching the inventory fall and I was realizing that like her being sick, there's no inventory to sell. This was before COVID and all of that. Like we were just watching, the millennials grow up or something. And I said, well, we need to only do listings. And that's also how I can control my time. So, since then, all of my outbound marketing is always focused on listings. Everything you ever needed to know about Gig Harbor, everything you need to know about saying like, she knows this neighborhood so well. And what do I give you for a listing? So my 7x7 campaigns that go to neighborhoods, it'll go to this neighborhood first because of money. And then it'll go to this neighborhood. And so I just travel through the whole area 7 weeks at a time. And it's basically a listing interview on a postcard. And they can, it's just another touch point 7 weeks in a row. If they've never heard about me, they think I've been around forever at that point, to get seven postcards in a row, but they're curated to speak to sellers. Right. And now, this year we'll probably have the most number of listings we've ever had. It's pretty crazy. We're at about 80 listings.
What percentage
this year?
This year alone? What percentage of that is in Gig Harbor only?
90%, 90 to 95%. Wow. It's pretty intense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We'll get a little bit of the outlying areas, but we're pretty, like I said, it's a discipline to say no. And the pain that some of the agents feel when they try to chase a check.
Right.
We will talk about it in our meetings. We'll say, would you do this again? It's 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
But it is painfully outside of their radius. They don't want to work with the buyers in that area. Then they feel like they're failing their seller. They don't care about doing open houses, but they do it anyway because we have to service the listing. Our level of service that we provide to our sellers is so intense that when they do take something that's outside of our geographical zone of happiness, it is 100% not worth their time.
Well, it breaks your gate. It breaks your
Yeah.
It's funny.
And because I'm like, you don't want we work all of our open houses and I'm like, we want none of those people
right.
in a city that we don't want to go back to.
Right. My first real estate office was in the San Fernando Valley, and it's about 10,000 agents in the Valley here, and they had their own MLS system. And it was very, very,
oh yeah,
very local kind of business.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the contiguous MLSs started wanting to share data. And now there's one MLS that everybody's kind of merged with, or whatever, called a CRMLS here. They cover about 65% of California. And as a result of that, agents
everybody thinks they can do everything. Yeah, it's crazy.
80 miles to do business. It's
there is no way that you can build a business intentionally by doing that. You'll just survive. I don't want to survive in this business. It's too hard. Yeah. This business, if you are going to do well in this business, it's too hard to try to survive by chasing commission checks.
Yeah.
And it's not good service to your clients. It just doesn't feel good. If you have like actual ethics and like a conscience. I love it. I love it when the agents come down from a different city where there's, 10 offers on a house and they come over here and they give me an offer that's completely absurdly ridiculous. And I'm like, great, let's let them write a stupid offer for their client and blow up the whole multiple offer situation. And my client wins because they didn't pick a local agent to protect them.
Right.
Great. I'll take that all day long.
You keep talking about great service, and what do you think? What constitutes great service? I know one of your taglines was "Great communication is my calling card."
Yeah.
So communication is obviously a part of that great service.
Yeah. So if you look at our package for sellers, it's pretty untouchable. And a lot of agents have come to me and they're like, I can't believe you pay for staging. I can't believe you offer every single piece of media. We do open houses every weekend to service the listing, even if nobody comes, because it talks to the algorithms. The minute you put an open house on, it goes out to everybody on Redfin and Zillow again. And you didn't change the price. Only thing that changed was you're marketing the home, and Zillow and everybody wants to tell everybody about it. Which means you also have to communicate with your clients because they're going to see it too.
Right.
But I had an agent, so if you look at our package that we offer to our sellers, it offers a pre-inspection. I like to know what's going on with the house. I'm not a contractor. I'm a stay in your lane type of girl. I'm not going to walk around your house and tell you what to fix. I want a professional to tell you that. And then you have no surprises. If you like surprises, then don't take me up on it. But you don't have to share that pre-inspection. We need to know what's going on with your house, fix any material defects, or make the adjustment in the price. So that's included. A surface level clean so that everything feels good when buyers touch their hand over it, that my stager's space is clean. That's included. Staging is included. And all of these are brought in professionally, not myself. I'm not running a staging company. I'm not a moving company.
Right.
Market knowledge, that's where I come in. Like, I promise you that I will know exactly what's going on in the market so that we can price accordingly. And if you want the seller's the boss on the price, if they want to run a number that is within range, they know the risks of that. And then we do a full media package, 3D tours, floor plans. We really do not skimp on any of that for any listing. And that's because we have buyers. We're a military community in certain parts of us. They're buying sight unseen. They want floor plans. They want dimensions. The more information a buyer has, the more comfortable they are giving you all their money, especially in a multiple offer situation. So that's a pretty expensive package for what we do. And then you have, a service-based communication team so that you know where you stand. Throughout the process.
Talk to you on everything?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. There is a listing coordinator that's involved too. So it's both it, but, sometimes there's a co-list. We offer some services where we will front the cost for renovation. And I'll bring in another agent to help coordinate those contractors and make sure that house is staying on track. Right. So there might be another cook in the kitchen when it comes to that. But when we're looking at negotiation and highest and best value, a lot of times that's still a focus on market knowledge on my end.
You're thinking if it's something that has to do with you making a decision that requires some knowledge and experience and so forth, talk to me. You don't talk to my client.
Yeah. I think there's still some work to be done to make sure that enough leverage exists so that I don't burn out, at the end of the day. Yeah. With the number of text messages, number of phone calls, and building trust among the network. We have a band of internal clients that we consider, which are our contractors. They get gifts every year. They are people that we take care of because they take care of our people. We have contractors that some of our clients will call and they'll say, can you paint our house? And they're like, sorry, we're not taking on any new clients. And they're like, but I work with Paige Schulte. Oh yes, you can. Because our painter doesn't take on any other clients but ours during the selling season. So April to October, that he's just ours.
Let me change base for a second here. Cause I've kept you for a long time. I really appreciate your time, by the way. I've loved talking to you. At what point in time did you say to yourself, I'm going to be good at this? I'm not going to be an average person. Because you said the first year or two you did 8 or 10 deals or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at some point in time you go, it clicked. Something clicked and said, I own this now. I'm in control and I can make this happen. Do you know what it was? Or
I was thinking about that. Because, you go back to 2020 and when we thought the world was falling apart, we were like, I was talking to a lender and he was like, man, this was our year that, I can't believe this is happening. I sat there and said, well, this is what we prepared for. All the times that we didn't take our foot off the gas with our marketing and our consistency. And even when times were good and the money was there, we were still marketing. We were marketing when things got shitty.
Right.
And then it turned out it was not bad. Everything was amazing from a revenue standpoint and a business standpoint between 2020 and 2022. And then 2023 hit, and that was really a test. So if I would say 2020, that I had to trust that I built something I was like, okay, we can get through this.
Right.
I can do X number of, I'm going to do at least this much business and stay in business.
At the darkest time, you would get a call or you'd get a referral or some kind of transaction. And you could say that transaction came because, to use your own words, I put my foot on the gas 6 months, a year ago.
Yeah. So in 2022, when we saw the market just go off the cliff with the rates, on our whiteboard, it said, agents, save your money. And here's where we're going to market. And we spent $30,000. That was risky. That was super risky. Cause it was right before the winter when we're going to have no money. And I set aside 30 grand and we did a video on every single school in the district.
Wow.
That was like where I was like, I feel like this is going to work. And we did a video on every school. We interviewed principal, parent, student, and teacher at every school and gave the community an inside look at what the schools feel like. I wanted it for our listings because as an area expert, not only are we selling your house, we're selling the community.
Sure.
Every single buyer will get a video on the school that this house is boundaried to. That made a big difference in the package that we provided.
Wow, that's really clever. So let me see if I understand this. You actually took a conversation with principals at all these schools, and your potential buyer could actually watch a video of the principal their children might be going to school with.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was like, what's the culture, feel, and experience that they're going to get at this school? It's a highlight reel of every school. And then we donated all of the media footage to the district so that they could use it for their websites because that makes our schools look better.
Right.
And without, in the ones that are for our firm that are on YouTube, I introduced it. I'm like, if I were moving here, I would want to know all about Artendale Elementary. Here's an inside look with principal, blah, blah, blah. That's not in the school videos that are online. But that was a gift that we did to the district. It's a small town. Who do you think sells all of the teachers' houses now?
Yeah.
That's us. That's the biggest employer of Peninsula, of the area is Peninsula School District.
That's one of the best things I think I've ever heard of, girl. That you did good on that.
Yeah. So the buyers now can search it. They can learn all about the schools. And then then they tie it back to us. And then the sellers feel confident that they're getting their house marketed to in the best possible way because everybody knows everything about the schools, whatever. But we sell houses that way. We convert leads from our listings. One of the people that wrote an offer on a house of ours, she was so worried about the school. She was coming from out of state and she watched the school videos and their kids felt comfortable moving out here and made an offer on the house. And those little baby things make a difference when you're dealing with emotions and kids and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't want, for fair housing, we didn't want to be the voice of, is it a good school? Is it about school? Watch the video and make your own choice.
Got it. Well, brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's a
but that was a real choice in 2022 when I'm telling everybody to save money. And I'm like, you know what? This is going to work. It's not going to feel good, but it'll work in the long run. But
it's so consistent with this overall theme of yours. You're consistently getting into the community. You're staying into the DNA of you're at the pulse, the heartbeat of everything. The people at the restaurants know you, refer to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really the way real estate's got to be done. I really commend you for this. I mean, I think the world right now of real estate has gotten so
noisy.
Well, I just think we have no leaders anymore, and due respect. And by the way, I've been president of a local board. I've been on the CAR, NAR directors, and all the things that you do. I've been an active participant, and still, I believe that there just isn't any visionaries or leaders in our industry anymore. And it's really hurting us bad. Innovation's gone. And so when I hear people, thinking, because I agree with you, and it works. It works. I did this myself. Yeah. And
but it's not. I think ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, I scaled very, very fast. Like very fast.
When did you know you needed? Did you know you needed help?
I got an ulcer in 2021. Yeah. I got an ulcer and went to the ER, and I was like dealing with a contract, like what you would see on Instagram of somebody like flaunting that. Like I was not in that. No, it was horrible. I mean, there was a video out there of me being like, God, I don't know why I'm so out of breath, but I didn't know that I had that issue. And I thought I was just getting fatter. But I ended up in the ER and I didn't have time to even deal with it. Like I put a Band-Aid on it, dealt with it. I dealt with it like 9 months later when the market slowed down in 22.
Right.
And then, that year 2021, you make all the money, all of that. And I had a person helping me. But she was being overpaid. And I was like, I would rather make less money and cut down half of those deals and not live my life that way. So that was kind of, 2022 where we've like suffered through the building of a team, which is, painful. No offense to anybody here that's in the office. It's very hard. And it adds a different layer of stress because we have created such a rainmaker scenario.
Right. Well, I remember I had one real estate office. And I think it was done, sounds pretty bragging, but I think we did it about as good as it could be done. When I opened a second office up, all of a sudden the dynamics changed. And I opened a third and fourth office, and it was never the same as one office because you're not just opening an office, you're learning how to another skill set of managing. And when you're a
and leadership,
and you go from selling yourself and introducing, help into your business, it's another set of skills you want to learn yourself. So
yeah, I told you I was a cross country runner. I did shit by myself.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, listen, I've kept you a long time. Let me, and thank you for your time very much again. I think this is going to be interesting stuff for someone to listen to. I noticed on your, and we'll wrap up with this if you'll give me the extra few minutes. I noticed on your website, you've already started with your buyer service representation agreement.
Yeah.
And you did.
I love it. I love every minute of it.
Do you? I think you did a really good job of explaining it on that.
It is. I think that it professionalizes the business. It is what we should have been doing. It's not like it hasn't existed. We just weren't doing it.
Right.
But I think I love every minute of it. I love it at open houses. I love the transparency in an agent and a buyer feeling like they can part ways if it's not a good fit. I think it's going to hold the industry to the standard that we should be held at for the amount of business, for the amount of money that we have the capability of making, and the transaction size and weight. Even if it's a $3,000 deal, it's a lot of money to that buyer or seller. And I think that we should be held to a higher standard. And I think that this is going to help do that. Right. The state of Washington implemented it in January, so we've been ahead of it. We also were not involved in any of the NAR lawsuits because we're not an NAR coupled MLS.
You're a Northwest MLS?
Yep. And so they're doing things differently anyway. They were starting all of this stuff probably 2 years ago when this started coming up. And they decoupled everything, which had always been that way, but the transparency has existed probably 2021. They started changing the language of the listing agreements. And it's helpful. And the conversations are interesting with some of the different buyers, but at least you know where you stand.
How are
my $6 million buyer they are going to want to negotiate, and they are going to want to have a non-exclusive. They're going to want that shit. Find me a house. Rich people really want what they want.
Right.
I don't care who finds it for me.
Right.
At least you know where you stand.
Right.
Well, and you can decide challenge accepted, or you can say, not for me.
Right. But challenge accept is a great term. How are you guys dealing with the fact that your MLS will continue to allow you to present a buyer's commission through their MLS, and yet you as a realtor are not allowed to do that? How are you guys dealing with that conflict, or is there one?
So far, there's not one that we.
So you're going to continue to offer a selling side commission through the MLS?
Yeah, as long as our MLS will allow it. I think that the transparency is what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Well, everywhere else in the country, I talked to your CEO of that MLS, and I forgot her name now. I'm sorry. I forgot her name now. But anyway, I talked to her about that. And she specifically said, we just don't think it's in the best interest of clients
of the buyer
offer a commission to the other side. And I
not publish it. You can offer 0, but it'll be published as 0.
Exactly. Yeah. The point is, you can put it in multiple. You can put it in the multiple. Most parts of the United States, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. Certainly, you can't do it in California.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, all of this has to be tested in the courts.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all going to be tested to see if this is going to work out, because I think that there are parts that are very good for a buyer and very good for a seller to understand. I think commission depression is, and always has been, our biggest issue. It's not, are you going to survive this business? If you're good at it, you're good at it. But commission depression is a thing. Luckily we're a listing office, to be honest. We have the listings, therefore we have the open houses, therefore we have the buyers. And that's probably the way that people should be looking at it. I don't know, Keller Williams, what do they say? Listing equals leads or something like that. It's always been known by the top coaches and stuff that's what we need to do. Lead with listings, something like that.
Leverage listings and,
yeah. So, but I think that all of the conversations around the new buyer laws and rules will be tested in the courts in the coming years. And all of this will continue to evolve. And there probably is some room for everybody to perform at a higher level for the amount they get paid.
Right.
It's the same thing with staging a house and investing in the product that you take to market. You don't deserve every ounce of your commission check. We just don't. I don't believe it. I believe that every listing that I have, I invest my own money to bring that product to market so that I look good and the house looks good and it sells. I don't think that I deserve $60,000 at profit at the end of the day. 10,000 of that is going to market the house.
Right.
The seller shouldn't have to pay for that, for the staging and stuff like that. I just don't think they do. I think that I can invest some of my business money into making a product look amazing. And I did that at 200,000 and now I sell 2 million. But you have to start really small and dress for the job you want and then work your way up.
Dress for the job you want.
Yeah. And I dressed the houses for the houses I wanted.
Sure.
My little tiny piece of shit, $250,000 house, looked like $1 million. And I was the only agent that was out there staging it that felt like this $250,000 house is paid off free and clear. They're going to make whatever the difference is, $200,000 on this property. And that's a lot of money to my seller. And how do I present it best for the market and get people to pay the most amount of money? And, then you'll sell something at 900,000 and they're underwater and, they're not making anything on it, but you still want to do the best service. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, listen,
you just get me fired up on that. Like the people that come in are like, and I'm like, you want to make doctor money? Then fucking go invest in your business.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've kept you longer than I promised I would. And hopefully we can do this again. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I really love what you're doing. Some of this stuff is great. And wish you nothing but the best of luck. And, we'll get back in touch with you soon.